I guess start off, just introduce yourself.
Okay.
And kind of tell us how you got connected with the Monroe Mandolin Camp.
Okay. Okay. You ready, John?
Yes, sir.
I'm Alan Bibey. I've been knowing Mike Compton forever, I guess. We both grew up with a love for Monroe mandolin style picking. So that's really my end to the camp. But my dad played mandolin, and the first thing he took me to was Bill Monroe playing over in the next town when I was 5 years old, and that's when I said, okay, that's what I want to do. And he come home, and that's how the story started.
What hooked you about that experience and about the music?
Well, I already loved it because my dad played in this. Around North Carolina when I grew up there, which would have been when I was 5. That was '69. So, back at that time, from then till at least the mid '80s, they had these fielders conventions around North Carolina. Like within a 2 or 3 hour radius, there was one every other weekend or something, you know. And you could make some money, a lot better money, a lot more fun money than working in tobacco at the time. So, but anyway, he took me to. So I already had that kind of thing going on. I've probably been going to those in the womb, I imagine. But when I was 5, and I loved that, but he took me, like I said, to Walkertown out there to see Monroe play, and he was playing on this back of this flatbed truck, you know, and it was up pretty high, and just seeing him in person, Daddy put me around his, up on top of his shoulders, and I just remember sitting there like the whole time, just like. I just couldn't believe. He's just like, he's a larger than life figure anyway, and had that charisma. But just seeing him like that live for the first time, especially at 5, I was already so obsessed with the mandolin. But just seeing him like that was like, I was mesmerized. So that's, like I said on the way home, I said, "Daddy, that's what I want to do," So, but it was unbelievable.
What do you think? What makes Bill Monroe's mandolin playing and his style of music special and unique?
Well, for me, I think he had, like everybody does, I think he has eras of his mandolin playing. It changes over your life, which it should do. And as you get older, sometimes you have more limitations than you did when you were younger or whatever. But I just love because take for instance, like when I was growing up and I fell in love with his playing. And then I kind of thought of it being, it's kind of simple or whatever. And then I got listened to Ricky Skaggs play, and he was playing all this jazzy stuff. And then at the end of a break, he'd play like his Monroe lick on steroids kind of thing. And I heard him talking about how great Bill Monroe was, and I thought, I need to go back and listen to this. And once I went back to listen with a little bit better ear, I realized it was a lot more complicated than I thought it was. And all the syncopation and, just his attack of the downstrokes and everything. I mean, that's just, it is so powerful, and that's what he said. But it's funny. In later years, I've learned a little bit about gypsy jazz, like Django Reinhardt's the famous gypsy jazz guy. He played almost all downstrokes. So I just thought that was a pretty cool correlation between those two guys. But in order to play that stuff right, you got to do the downstrokes, and it's not easy,
Well, that's one example of it. But what are some ways that Bill Monroe's playing has influenced your own playing?
Oh gosh, pretty much everything I do. I mean, I've listened to from his chop and all his rhythm playing to the creativity, the powerful how he played, to the point of like one thing I loved about him, and I got to be around him a lot at times, back in the 80s and 90s, even the 70s. I guess the first time when I was 13, I played on the festival, and I would come off stage and he just handed me his mandolin, and it like kind of freaked me out. But but it just everything, I don't know, just everything about his playing is just incredible. But one thing I love even maybe more was the creativity, and he never stopped with the creativity until he was in the hospital before he died, still writing songs. I thought, man, that's so awesome, because so many musicians I know, once they get to a certain point professionally, they really don't learn anything else or come up with anything else, But I thought, now that's what I want to try to be like, you know.
How do you teach students or musicians to have that kind of creativity, to develop their own voice, and to continue with it, to not stop with it?
I don't know if you could teach the not stopping with it. I think it's just got to be inside of you a little bit. But for me, to get my own voice, I think it was back in the day. We didn't have, when I was learning, they didn't have all the things you have to learn on the day, and maybe that was a good thing, because when I would learn something, I would like try to learn it in every key. So I think that was helpful. But I just think it's for me, it was listening to all my favorite players. Like I would take things from all my different favorite players, the things I liked about them the most. I would just try to learn it note for note, and I think that really helped me learn how to put a break together that sounded musical and not just a bunch of notes. And Monroe being, probably the biggest influence in there, but still with all those other influences, if you put all that together and then play the 10,000 hours, which turns into 1 gazillion hours, then you'll come up with your own voice. But that's a lot of work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing about teaching?
I love when people learn, and you see like a light bulb go on. Like I've been to a couple camps, and like I teach a particular lick this day, or I try to think of more as ideas than licks, because that way they can do their own thing with it, eventually. But there's nothing I love more than teaching something like in class, and then go around the jams at night, and somebody's actually using what I just taught them. I'm thinking, oh man, that's the coolest thing ever. And then I've just had, I've just started out doing all these camps probably 30 years ago, and just didn't think about it as any other way than just, that's another way I can make money or whatever. But I didn't think about all the friendships I'd make and all the people that I would teach that later would become, professionals, and have them come back and say, man, those classes were the reason I wanted to go for it and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, man, I never dreamed that, but that's an incredible feeling. That's what huge blessing.
Have you seen, I know one of the things that kind of hooked me into this kind of music is the community around it. I sort of stumbled into a bluegrass jam when I was in college.
Yeah.
How have you seen the community around this music hook people that way? And then specifically, how have you seen that kind of community being built here at the Monroe Mandolin Camp?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's great anyway, but in person is just, it hooks you, I think, if you go, like you said, when you see it in person. And especially making like this camp and a few other camps I've been to, they start making relationships with each other, and next thing you know, they got their own group chats going on through the year, and they're really supporting each other and all that kind of stuff. It's just it's just the greatest. That's what you want to happen, and sometimes it happens even more than what you could hope for.
What do you hope that your students this year at camp will take away, will learn from you?
Well, I hope that they'll maybe I'll help them with the idea of, like you say, we're talking about not stopping with it, and just keep playing. If you just play a little bit every day, it doesn't have to be a lot, but keep it close to you and keep it where you can play a little bit every day and keep that fire burning. You got to have some kind of motivation. So besides all the licks and ideas we'll learn, I hope they'll to instill maybe a little bit of that kind of thing.
Is there anything else that you want to say or a story you'd like to tell, or is there a question that I should have asked you?
I don't know. I got a lot of Bill Monroe. I could tell you a couple of Bill Monroe stories.
Go ahead. Yeah, that'd be great.
So I played with this band called Third Time Out, and when we first started the band, we were around him a lot. I had been around him a lot earlier with Quicksilver, and we had a good relationship, but I didn't get to be around him enough that we really hung out, and we went out to eat and that kind of stuff. So with Third Time Out, we kind of got into that kind of thing. So we're playing this one gig, opening up for Monroe, and the 2 or 3 hours before, me and him were backstage, and we're talking, and we said we should play a song together. And I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. And I don't even remember what song it was now, but yeah, so I worked out the twin to it. We said we can play for, I know, an hour and a half or something, you know. And then after that, I'm really working on his twin part because I want to be as right as I can get it, you know, all this kind of stuff. He had picked out the time he wanted to come out and set, which song and all this kind of thing. I said, oh my, it's going to be awesome. So anyway, we're playing, and it's not anywhere near the time that we set for this to happen. And he comes out of in front of us in the auditorium and comes in the back door, and it was politically correct, but he come in and kissed quite a few women on the way to the stage, and then just went by us. And I thought, okay, he'll still come. And the crowd just went wild. They forgot about what we were doing, of course. I mean, it was just incredible. And he went behind us, and I thought, okay, he's still, the plan's coming back. Well, and as soon as we got finished with that tune, he comes, I just feel him come by me, and he puts his hand on my shoulder and leans down, and he said, I just wrote this tune, it's an A. And I said, okay, get it. So he went up and played a tune that he said he just wrote. I just wrote this tune, it's an A. I said, okay, get it. And he went up there and played the whole thing. So we never played the song that we talked about playing. So that's one. I've got a gazillion, but another cool one was he was notorious for wanting to be strong. I mean, he was strong. So, but he would shake your hand. He'd pull you out of your seat sometime, you know, shaking your hand. So he'd done that to me quite a few times, and it was the first time we'd played the Opry as third time out in 1990, I think. And so we could come into the Opry, we go into the back room there, and he's sitting there on the couch. I thought, hey, this is my chance. I'm gonna get him, you know, because we've been hanging out a lot. So he said, "Hey, how you doing?" I said, "Good, good." And I went over and shook his hand. And when I did, I pulled him off the couch as hard as I could, you know. He just laughed and grabbed me around the neck and stuff. So then we get on stage, and at that point, I'm 26 or 7. I'm too young to be I'm too stupid to be nervous, probably. And we're playing, and we're actually doing one of his songs when he reached down his hands for me. And we just recorded. So we're playing the song, and I have to look down, and I'm on the circle, and I thought, oh, that's cool. That's pretty wild. I didn't realize I was on that. And I look up to see all the people, and I thought, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. It's full. I looked over to the side, and there was Monroe standing there, and half his face was in the light, half was in the dark. And I remember thinking, oh Lord, I really got to play that. That's good. And so we played it, and it did make me nervous. And we go off stage, and he did the same thing. He grabbed me. He said, y'all do a good job on my music. And I thought, man, that's the best thing ever. I could just quit now, you know. But that's just a few good ones.
That's cool. That's funny. I've heard a lot of people say that he sort of, when he shook your hand, he would try to like pull you off balance.
Oh, man. Yeah, he would actually, he'd pull you out, but I got him that one time.